What's up, my beautiful people? Aaron Thomas with Excellence Above Talent. So, day 4 of The Way of a Superior Man. I told you I'm going to be knocking these out every day. Y'all get tired of me. Unfollow me, I guess. I don't know. So today's chapter is over knowing your real edge. And not faking it. And to define an edge would be like the purpose that you have for your life, your passion, the things that are inside of you that we sometimes hold inside of us because of the fear of allowing other people to see what's in us and them judge it. We as men need to know that edge, know where we want to go, know our passions, know our purpose, and don't walk around here with this macho mentality trying to fake that you're okay, trying to fake that you have money, trying to fake that everything in your life is going as planned. Being in that moment and in the process of figuring out is a beautiful thing, and I feel like society has made men feel like if they are trying to figure it out, or if they're in like this middle ground where they're not successful but they're not poor, they're just kind of right here in this middle, then people will look at them a certain way or look down on them. And it's just simply not the case. We as men should not be allowed, or we as men shouldn't let the circumstances of this world dictate who you want to be. So if you want to be a certain man and society is saying that those men are frowned upon, or those men are looked down upon, or those men are deemed weak, regardless of what society says, you do what you feel like you need to do in order to live your best life. I like this chapter because there's some things that he talked about when it comes to men being afraid and living in a society where, as a man, if I show fear, I show weakness. And the crazy part is we are all fearful of something, circumstances, people, places, things in our life as men, and we have to act like everything is okay. We have to act like we are fearless. And it's not the case. When I went to Iraq I was 18 or 19 when I went to Iraq. No one ever talked about fear. But when you walked around and looked in people's eyes, you saw it. You knew that we were afraid of getting killed, of getting blown up, of getting shot, of getting kidnapped and tortured. We were afraid of not coming back to the United States. We were afraid of getting our leg or arms blown off. But no one ever talked about it because it wasn't deemed macho. So everyone acted like everything was okay when it wasn't. And what this book is saying is, a man who says he is fearless and doesn't have any fears is a man who is pretending and a man who is fake, a man who doesn't know himself. You, as a superior man, should know the things that you're afraid of and attack those things. Because if you don't know what you're afraid of, how can you attack, anything in life? And there's a lot of times your purpose and passion is in front or behind fear. So your purpose and passions a lot of times is behind fear. And you have to attack that fear in order to get to that purpose and passion that you have for your life. I don't like heights. But the last year, I jumped out of a plane. I went parasailing. I went ziplining. I just conquered those fears. And I didn't die. And it was pretty amazing. to experience and feel. And now I want to do those things again. But I wouldn't have known if I didn't press through and fight through my fears, right? So there's a lot of, and me personally, the suicide rate is so high amongst men. This is just my opinion because of this right here. Because men feel like they have to be fearless and not be afraid and not address their fears to the people that they love. Because in order to address it, you have to talk. You have to be open. You have to be vulnerable. And that's another thing that we as, men in this society has been told not to do. And so we suppress and we hold in all this pain and anger and frustration and hurt and fear to the point to where it gets so heavy and too much that you put a gun to your head, or you grab a rope, or you take those pills, or you cut yourself, because that pain is unbearable. And I can talk about that pain because I've been there before, with a gun to my head, afraid of what people would think of me if I did what was in me to do. The purpose that I needed to do, I was afraid of other people looking down and judging, so I suppressed it all in. I chased after money, and it just culminated and compounded till one day I was like, I don't even know who I am as a person. Me physically in my body, but I don't know like what that is, what that feels like. I don't know who is in there. It's somebody totally different. And that was a scary thing. And so me personally, as a man, embrace your fears. Talk about your fears. I have a few fears. I have a fear of failing. I have a fear of not being the man that I portray on social media or with these videos, or going out there and talking the talk but not walking the walk, is what I'm trying to say. I don't want to be a man. It's a big fear of mine for people to look at me and be like, okay, all he does is talk, but he's not doing what he says he is doing. A big fear of mine is not finding love, like real love, someone that just loves you for you. You're not too much, you're just you, and they embrace and love you for it. Fear of not making an impact. So those are some fears that I have in my life that I'm constantly striving and struggling and trying to figure things out. And I would rather talk about it with other people than to hold it all in and say that I'm not afraid of nothing but my mama and God. That was what I used to say. I ain't afraid of nothing but my mama and God. There was a lot of things I was afraid of. I just wasn't man enough to have those conversations. So there's a few quotes, and then we'll get ready for day 5. All men are afraid unless they are perfectly free. If you cannot admit this, you are pretending to yourself and to others. So essentially, someone who says they're not afraid has to be a perfect man. And we know for a fact there's only one perfect man that has ever walked the face of this earth. If you're a Christian, if you're not, then whatever God you have, that's perfect. We as men choose jobs and partners, and we do things that are safe, knowing that we're killing ourselves on the inside. And I've done that for way too long in my life to continue down that path of caring about what others think. So I go to a job that I do not like, around people who don't like me in order to get a paycheck to just survive for the 2 weeks or the month that you have. And it's just that cycle over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it gets repetitive. And it takes a toll on your creativity. It takes a toll on your self-worth and self-image. And you become a shell of yourself, trying to keep up with what society says the norm is. So honor your edge. Honor the passion that you have inside of you. Honor the purpose that you've been called to do. Honor your choices. Be honest with yourself about your choices and your passions. Be honest with yourself about your fears. Two more quotes. A fearful man who knows he is fearful is far trustable than a fearful man who isn't aware of his fears. And it took me a while to understand and get that, but it rings true. I can't trust a man who says he doesn't have any fears. Because when the time comes and he has to face that fear that he says he didn't have, he's going to crumble because he's never faced it before. But if there's a man who's saying, I have these fears, and he's facing these fears, and then when a situation comes where the fear and him are looking themselves in the eye, well, that man keeps moving forward and keeps pushing forward because he's already experienced that fear. He's already gone through that process of trying to understand where that fear is coming from versus trying to act like that fear isn't there. Last quote. A free man is free to acknowledge his fears. A free man is free to acknowledge his fears without hiding them or without holding them. I'll say it one more time. A free man is free to acknowledge his fears without hiding them or hiding from them. Live with your lips pressed against your fears, kissing your fears, neither pulling back nor aggressively violating them. I love it. And it's something that in my life, in this process that I'm going through and continually going through with the divorce and working on my business and, trying to start up a nonprofit. There's a lot of things that are going on that's creating a lot of fear within me. And that fear then pushes you to do something out of your box for comfort. Because it's easy. Because I know where the money is coming, or because things, are working out the way they need to work out, or because I know from 8 to 5 at a job, this is where I'm going to be. Versus going out there and feeling that fear and feeling that struggle and feeling that pain, because regardless of you going to your comfort zone or getting out of your comfort zone and doing things that are scary, you're still going to feel discomfort. So you're in the comfort zone, but you still feel discomfort because you know this isn't where you need to be. And your body and your mind is pushing you to get out from that comfort zone, and you're making yourself stay because you don't want to feel that discomfort. Well, guess what? That's also discomfort. It's very uncomfortable staying in a place where you don't want to be, where you're not wanted, where you're not needed. Very uncomfortable. So you might as well choose your uncomfortable. You might as well choose yourself, choose the fears that you have to deal with, and walk that walk. And I'm in the process of doing that right now. Walking that walk, getting out of the comfort zone of thinking this is how it should be, and walking into a place where I don't know what it is or how it should be. But I would rather be here struggling, trying to figure out my purpose and passion and what's best for me than to go and try to be what society says I should be as a man, wanting to follow the norms because the norms are easy. I beg to differ. The norms aren't easy, but it's just something that as men we have to figure out. If you want to be a superior man, if you're trying your hardest to fight for yourself first, you have to understand that you have fears. Embrace your fears. Talk to your fears. Look the fear in the eye and work through those fears because they're not going anywhere. And the faster you work through your fears, the faster life becomes easier. So you're not holding back. You're being open, you're being vulnerable, you're allowing people to know that as a man, yes, I can still be strong, but I also have fears. And those fears can either push you towards where you want to go or keep you from where you should be going. And as superior men, we should not allow anything to keep us from our passion and purpose that we were called to do for life. We should be following and running to the problems because we all have solutions to those problems if we sit in those problems and think about the solutions to the problems versus looking at the problem from the outside, from the inside looking out, saying, well, that sucks. But at the end of the day, those problems are never going to leave you until you face them and deal with them. So I'm on this journey, and it's a beautiful journey. We should not run from the journey of life. We should face it with our fears, with our doubts, but make a step. And every step that you take is an imperfect step. There's never a step that is perfect. You're going to take a step, and it might hurt, or it might feel weird, or you might be afraid. But deal with that step, and then take the next step, and continue marching forward, because fear is not going to go anywhere. So, if anyone hasn't told you today that they love you, let me be the first to say I love you. You are awesome. You are amazing. You deserve the best that this world has to offer. Do not give up. Do not quit. The world doesn't get easier, but you get stronger. Y'all have a great Monday, because Monday's here. Go kill it. Ooh. Go kill it. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.